But the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not.
What?
The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason.
Why?
It could be that his head wasn't screwed on just right. It could be, perhaps, that his shoes were too tight. But I think that the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small.
Look.
Like this tiny.
But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve, hating those.
Who?
You know, them. Staring down from his cave with a sour, grinchy frown at the warm lighted windows below in their town, for he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy now hanging a mistletoe wreath. And they're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas. It's practically here. Then he growled with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming, I must find some way to stop Christmas from coming. For tomorrow, he knew, all the Who girls and boys would wake bright and early, they'd rush for their toys, and then, oh, the noise! Oh, the noise, noise, noise! That's the one thing he hated, the noise, 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 noise! Yeah, just like that.
What about the Whovilation?
You didn't show them. You didn't show them.
There's nothing to see. They watched it.
We use our imagination.
Then the Who's, young and old, would sit down to a feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, 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 feast. They would feast on Who pudding and rare Who roast beef, which was something the Grinch couldn't stand in the least. They couldn't. Yeah. And then they'd do something he liked least of all. For every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, would stand close together with Christmas bells ringing. They'd stand hand in hand, and the Who's would start singing.
Who would?
They'd sing, and they'd sing, and they'd sing, 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 sing. And the more the Grinch thought of this Who Christmas sing, the more the Grinch thought, I must stop this whole thing. Yeah, I've got to stop that. Why, for 53 years I put it, well, 57. For 57 years I put up with it now. I must stop Christmas from coming. But how? Then he got an idea. An awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea.
You want me? Mr. Grinch.
I know just what to do. The Grinch laughed in his throat. And he made a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat. And he chuckled and clucked. What a great Grinchy trick. With this coat and this hat, I look just like St. Nick. All I need is a reindeer. The Grinch looked around, but since reindeer are scarce, there was none to be found. Did that stop the Grinch? No, the Grinch simply said, if I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead. So he called his dog Max. Or Jordan. Jordan! Jordan looks like Max, really. The similarities are pretty scary. He called his dog Max. Then he took some red thread and he tied a big horn on the top of his head.
Jordan, I'm going to tie one on you.
No, that's not. Poor Jordan. Then he loaded some bags and some empty old sacks on a ramshackle sleigh and he hitched up old Max. And then the Grinch said, get up! And the sleigh started down towards the homes where the Who's lay a snooze in their town.
Jamie, scratch her neck.
Why?
She really likes the neck really hard.
Oh, puppy spot! Ah! All the windows were dark. Quiet snow filled the air. All the Who's were all dreaming sweet dreams without care. When he came to the first little house on the square. This is stop number 1, the old Grinchy Claus hissed, and he climbed to the roof, empty bags in his fist.
Jeremy said so.
And he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch, but if Santa could do it, then so could the Grinch. He got stuck only once, for a moment or two, then he stuck his head out of the fireplace flue. where the little Who's stockings all hung in a row. "These stockings," he grinned, "are the first things to go." Then he slithered and slunk with a smile most unpleasant around the whole room, and he took every present. Pop guns and bicycles, roller skates and drums, checkerboards, tricycles, popcorn and plums. And he stuffed them in bags. Then the Grinch very nimbly stuffed all the bags one by one up the chimney.
Please.
Says chimney.
Me.
Then he slunk to the icebox. He took the Who's feast. He took the Who pudding. He took the roast beast. He cleaned out the icebox as quick as a flash. Why, that Grinch even took their last can of Who hash. Then he stuffed all the food up the chimney with glee. "And now," grinned the Grinch, "I will stuff up the tree."
I remember a funny part.
And the Grinch grabbed the tree, and he started to shove, when he heard a small sound, like the coo of a dove. Make a coo of a dove. Or something like that, yeah. He turned around fast, and he saw a small Who.
Wait, is this better?
Yeah, that's it. He turned around fast, and he saw a small Who, little Cindy Lou who was not more than 2.
7.
Santa,
Or 7.
why are you taking the Christmas tree?
That's coming. Wait. That's good. Okay, wait for your cue. The Grinch had been
Wait,
caught.
tell me when to do it.
Just let me get to that point. Then the Grinch had been caught by this tiny Who daughter who got out of bed for a cup of cold water. She stared at the Grinch and said,
Santa Claus, why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why?
"You're officially Cindy Lou Who."
Is that good?
Yeah, I guess. But
Yeah,
you know
'cause you
that
suck at it,
Grinch
Jeremy.
was so smart and so slick, he thought up a lie and he thought it up quick. "Why, my sweet little tot," the fake Santa Claus lied, "there's a light on this tree that won't light on one side. I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, and I'll bring it back here." And his fib fooled the child, and he patted her head, and he got her a drink, and he sent her to bed.
Good night.
And when Cindy Lou Who went to bed with her cup, he went to the chimney and stuffed the tree up.
Eh.
And don't stuff Jordan up. And the last thing he took was the log for their fire. And then he went up the chimney himself, the old liar.
Wait, this is the funny part.
On the walls he left nothing but some hooks and some wire. And the one speck of food that he left in the house was a crumb that was even too small for a mouse. And then he did the same thing to the other Who's houses, leaving crumbs much too small for the other Who's mouses. It was 1/4 dawn. Ow, George stepped on my... all the Who's still abed, all the Who's still a snooze when he packed up his sled. Packed it up with their presents, the ribbons, the wrappings, the tags and the tinsel, the trimmings, the trappings. 3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he rode with his load to the tip-top to dump it. Hoo-hoo to the Who's! He was grinchishly humming. They're finding out now that no Christmas is coming. They're just waking up, I know just what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open for a moment or two. Then the Who's down in Whoville will all cry boo-hoo.
They didn't go.
Boo. Yeah, boo.
I had to sing dog.
Hey, no spoilers.
That's a noise, the Grinch, grinned the Grinch, that I simply must hear.
Dog.
So he paused, and the Grinch put a hand to his ear. And he did hear a sound rising over the snow.
Wait, I gotta do the sound.
It started in low, then it started to grow.
Darling forest, welcome Christmas is here.
Da-oo-da-re, welcome Christmas, Christmas is da-oo-da-re, da. Okay, but the sound wasn't sad. Why, this sound sounded merry. It couldn't be so, but it was merry, very. He stared down at Whoville. The Grinch puffed his eyes. Then he shook, What he saw was a shocking surprise. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or another, it came just the same. And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons. It came without tags. It came without packages, boxes, or bags.
I say the lid.
And he puzzled 3 hours till his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more.
I say what Super
No.
Who says.
And what happened then? Well, in Whoville they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with his load through the bright morning light, and he brought back the toys and the food for their feast. And he himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beast. Welcome Christmas, bring your cheer, cheer to all Who's from far and from near. Christmas Day is in our grasp as long as we have hands to clasp. Christmas Day will always be just as long as we have we. Merry Christmas, sweet.
Let's go to bed now.
No, I'm